Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Kelly and I make videos about art and creativity, and today we're going to be doing a walkthrough of the Strathmore Watercolor journal that I had just finished and recently did a music only sketchbook tour for. I'm going to be giving you a tour with a voiceover and doing a official review on the sketchbook. I originally did a first impressions video and a pretty in-depth kind of like review of the first experience, and that video is linked up in the card and I will leave it at the end and in the description and all that stuff. I started off with big love for this sketchbook, and the more that I worked into it, the more problems that I came across. So let's get into the tour and I will talk about some of the problems that I ran into with this sketchbook. Before we get into that though, I would like to say that I love Strathmore as a company, and I recently just worked and finished another one of their sketchbooks, this guy, and I will leave a link and a card pop up for the tour on this one and the videos regarding it. And this one here is a Strathmore 400 series watercolor paper sketchbook, and I loved working in this sketchbook. I do feel like there are some massive differences with these. Sorry about my camera in the way. I don't feel like moving it right now because we're about to do the top down thing. Yeah, we have a lot to discuss about this, but just a heads up, I do love Strathmore as a company, and I will talk about this more as we go through, and I'm really bummed because I loved the sketchbook at the beginning, and the way we ended things was not so great. So without further ado, let's get into the tour. Okay, so let's get into the tour here. Sorry, I'm doing this upside down because I don't know how to flip my camera the right side up, so I'm just gonna do on my side, it'll be upside down. On your side, it will not be. Okay, so sorry, everything's opposite now. All right, so this was the first page, and actually this isn't the first page I did, but this is just the title page, start date, whatever. So this was the first page that I did, and I originally really liked this sketchbook when I was working in here, and it seemed to handle everything really well, and I really liked how this piece came out. And unfortunately this is where the good times ended. I was shocked as I continued to work through this sketchbook and just was immediately let down. Now I do I have to give it points for making me get creative with how to actually fill it and overcome some of the problems that I came with. So when I was doing this piece here, it had bled through the page here, okay? And I did have some troubles with this page too, so I will have the previous video that I took and have that overlaid. But I've never seen watercolor paper do this. Stop texting me, I'm busy. Anyway, as I was saying, so we had a lot of bleed through, and I thought that this bleed through here was from it going through the seam. However, that was not the case. Not the case at all. Turns out this paper kind of sucks the watercolor in like a sponge, and I'm just not sure how this came to be, especially because it's supposed to be cotton paper. I'm really not sure what happened. And the more I continue to work through it, like these little dots down here, it didn't bloom the way it does in my other watercolor sketchbooks or with regular watercolor paper. So I don't hate this sketchbook and I don't hate what I did, but I had to fight the paper a lot with this. And so this one here, this one was not bad. It was the original sketch for Odin's Ravens that I have done, and I took a picture of it and put it on my iPad and made Odin's Raven out of it, and I decided to try a little quote here on the side. I had a lot of problem trying to get a nice even coat and I was not happy. I had to put multiples on it, and this was black ink, I think. No, I had to switch to gouache because the watercolor would not. I could not get a flat wash with it. The mixed media pieces I feel like did fine. It's really where the water comes into play. That's the problem, because it makes the paper suck it up and like pull it through the other side. I've never seen watercolor leak through the other side of the paper before. It was very similar to the way marker behaves in some sketchbooks, so I was really kind of like not about it at this point. But it was a small sketchbook and I did really want to finish it, so I continued on. This one here is just a spread of mushrooms. As you can see, the pencil is fine. This page, however, I had a bunch of trouble with. This was not originally it was kind of part of the plan, but not officially the way this is. I ended up having to switch to gouache to do the frame and kind of like the wallpaper effect here, because there was so much bleeding out of the circle that I had created, and I was not happy about it, because normally when I use regular watercolor paper or in a sketchbook like the other Strathmore sketchbook, where I put the water is where the watercolor stays. That was not the case for this sketchbook. It is literally like a sponge, and it sucks it in and spreads it to where you don't want it and goes through the paper. It's just completely unreal. Having said that, I am not unhappy with the spread. This was a challenge that I had to overcome, and I can't say that I'm not happy with the result, but I feel like it would have been a lot more enjoyable had the paper behaved the way I wanted it to. This one here was not so bad. This was a wet on dry technique because I really got frustrated with the water. The more water you add, the harder it is to work with for some reason. Wet on dry, it seems to be fine with wet on dry as long as you don't use too much water like in your paint mixture. This page here, I didn't have to, not for this one, but I was really frustrated with the paper and I knew it wasn't going to handle marker. So I decided to glue some toned gray paper in here so I could do what I wanted and just to kind of switch things up. And like I said, this was a challenge. But yeah, so I really had to problem solve with the sketchbook. So this was one of my solutions, was to glue a different type of paper in here and kind of do what I wanted. And this is my least favorite spread of this. I figured maybe I could try to work with acrylics, and I put some gesso down, and I think my gesso had went bad. I'm not sure if it goes bad. I don't know how that works. I don't really mess with acrylics a lot. It's a goal of mine to learn how to use it this year. This page is a hot mess that I put blue acrylic paint on and decided to do a white jelly roll on top of it. Like, the concept is all right. It needs definitely another go. Actually, this is my least favorite page, I'm not gonna lie. And this page here was in gouache because I figured I would try gouache to see if I had the same problem with the gouache as the watercolor. And I really didn't, because I used less water with gouache. But the second I added water to the gouache to spread it out, it went under my tape right here. I don't know if you can see that. Maybe there you go. So right here it went under my tape because the water, it just sucks it in and just spreads it where you don't want it. Like when you put tape down, you don't want any color or water or pigment there. So it came out fine. It's a sketchbook, it's not a big deal. But I really don't like fighting my paper, like at all. So with this page, I decided to do a rice fantasy map, and I made a little short in TikTok about it. So I will have that pop on the screen while I'm talking to you. And as you can see, I coffee stained the background for the mat before I put the rice on. And even with the coffee staining, this paper was not behaving right. Let me show you an example of the other Strathmore sketchbook that has coffee staining in it, just for like a comparison. So like, this is the colored, like the same kind of coffee. Okay, so like it barely took the pigment, and when I put drops of extra in and I wanted them blooms, I just couldn't get them. Like, I know some people don't like blooms, but I do. I like that texture. So I couldn't get that with this. I do, however, I think this is it's pretty close to being my favorite. I do really like my owl. I'm not gonna lie about that. But this one is probably my second favorite page, and I do feel like it was because of the challenge, so I can't complain too much. And this spread here, though it looks all right from far away, this was probably the most challenging. I could not get my watercolors to behave like watercolors. I was very disappointed, and I really had to resort to like colored pencil and just gouache and just stuff that I didn't want to use. I really just wanted to use my travel watercolor set and just doodle in bed, and it just wouldn't let me. And it was very, very challenging. Now, the spread is not awful. It's fine. But knowing what it could have been had the paper cooperated with me is the frustrating part. So anyway, moving on. This one here, I had a marker bleed through somewhere. I think I did a test, and then I painted over it here and put the black paper here. So I taped or glued this in. Sorry, you guys, I'm trying to get this in order. This is like a really terrible tour. I'm really sorry, but it's very real. There's a very sophisticated music-only tour, and I will leave that linked also. But we're like critiquing the sketchbook right now, so I'm just kind of like doing it upside down and whatever. So this page I don't feel like can count. The same with the gray one, because I glued different paper in just to kind of make my life easier, and that was kind of how I solved that problem. And it also gave me like a variety in the sketchbook, which I do like. So I do like this page also. This page here, however, you can see simply with just the swatching, and I did not use a lot of water here, okay? And it literally just sucked it up. And I have different footage, and I will show that and put that in here also. But it literally just sucked it up and spread it. I have never seen anything like this. And then it bled through to this page, which I had really liked because it was just, you know, an ink drawing. And I've never seen watercolor do this. I've never seen watercolor bleed through the paper like this. So it was very disappointing. And even though this spread didn't come out great, it was just kind of like a let's mess around and see what happens kind of thing. I wasn't expecting this, and I have to say I'm really disappointed. Really disappointed. Especially because I feel like this sketchbook is more expensive than this one, and this one it was just more enjoyable to work in, I guess, for argument's sake. You know, so I mean, this was supposed to be cotton paper, you know, like this is supposed to work just as good as, you know, like the Etcher sketchbook or the Fabriano Artistico, and it didn't. So I can't complain, but I mean, like I can complain because I am. And then this one, I just gave up and did pencil because I was really tired of fighting the paper. So that is the tour. And I did a very technical review last time with 5 stars for enjoyment, this, that. The only thing I can say is that I do like Strathmore as a company, and this is not to bash them at all. I love the concept of this. However, this is a pretty expensive sketchbook for how many pages are in it compared to this fella here. Okay, that's a lot of page difference and size difference. Okay, I'm not thrilled with this at all. Love the concept of it. It's a perfect size and, you know, perfect page count to feel like you accomplished something. It's very low pressure. I just need the paper to do what I want it to do, and it just didn't do that for me. I will say that I cannot find this on Amazon anymore, and I do believe they took this out of production, and I'm not surprised. However, if they fix the paper, I would buy this again. But as it stands right now, I will not, especially if you were a heavy water user like I am with watercolor. I mean, I just love to play with the water and watch it, you know, zing across the page and make the different blooms for the texture in the background. And the whole sucking it through to the other side was just kind of like completely unreal to me. Like, I could not believe that. I have never seen watercolor do that. Ever, never. And I mean, I had to go through quite a bit and problem solve. This page wasn't originally like that, but when I took the tape off, it was such a mess. I had no point. I had nothing else to do other than put a border on it. So, you know, I mean, like, I am happy I finished it. I'm happy with how it looks. I mean, like, it's fine. It's just a sketchbook, but I like you, Strathmore, but I do feel like this needs to go back to the drawing board. And if it does go back to the drawing board, I will definitely buy another one if there's new paper in it. But as it stands right now, I will not buy this again. And I just kind of wanted to do this review because I was so excited in the first impressions video, and I thought it was the perfect sketchbook. That's how let down I was. I really thought this was going to be the perfect sketchbook for me, and it just was not. And I felt like I had to kind of do a review to tell you guys that. But I do, like I said before, I do think that they did take this out of production. I can't find it anymore. I feel like it's important to be transparent and honest, and this is my honest review. As it stands right now, I will not buy this again. If they fix it, I will give it another go. Yeah, that's, you know, if it comes down to it, definitely pick the Strathmore. This is the watercolor one. I've heard a lot of good things about the mixed media one, but the 400 series Strathmore, love it. It's super fun to work in. I did a lot. There's a tour. This was fun. You know, like the watercolor behaved appropriately. See this? This stuff right here, the way, can I get it on the camera? The way this behaved, that's what I want my watercolors to look like. And it felt like I was really fighting the paper with this guy. Like this right here, this freaking texture, the blooms, that's what I want. This didn't give it to me. So I have to take back my claim that I thought it was the perfect sketchbook, because it wasn't. And I'm sorry, guys. I'm really bummed. We're going to find the perfect one. It's going to be cool. Anyway, so I just wanted to come in and let you know that I finished it. That's my voiceover tour. I hope that you found it helpful. If you had a chance to get this while it was available, I would really like to know your thoughts on it. I'm not sure if maybe I got a defective one or what happened here, but I was not expecting this for 100% cotton paper, which it does say. Cold press, professional grade, cold press watercolor paper containing 100% cotton. And then it says that it provides a resilient service for scrubbing, scraping, and other rough techniques. I disagree. I feel like this paper is very strange. I don't know what happened here. I hope you fix it, Strathmore, though, because I do like you as a company. You know, anyway. That is my sketchbook tour with voiceover and my review of this watercolor travel journal. So if you have tried this and you thought it was awesome and great, let me know in the comments. It's a good possibility that I got a defective one, and I will look into it further if I can, but I cannot find them anymore, so I don't know what happened here. Hopefully they went back to the drawing board. Like I said, it'd be great if they improved on paper in here because this was hard. Anyway, if you found this video helpful or you liked it, a thumbs up is always appreciated, and why not subscribe while you're here, because turns out most of you watching are not subscribed. I have over 200 videos that are art related, and you might find one helpful. YouTube thinks you might like one of these. Until next time, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.